week, the 38-year-old is seeking a fifth Davis Cup crown, having been part of Victoria's Spain teams in 2004, 2009, 2011, and 2019. Spain will face the Netherlands in the quarterfinals, and they could meet either Canada or Germany in the last four. Corretja, a two-time French Open runner-up, looked ahead to the last event of Nadal's career and declared he expects it to be emotional and challenging for all involved. That I think it's going to be very emotional, Corretja added. We've been following Rafa, dreaming with Rafa. He's not going to be playing anymore, so it's going to be difficult. That I'm receiving so many messages from followers and from people who tell me that they can't believe it's going to be the end for Rafa. That it will be very difficult to deal with that for Rafa, for his teammates, even for the opponents. I hope the crowd will be warm, but respectful. That it has to feel like a big party, but we all need to remember that this is the Davis Cup, a big event. Corretja named Nadal's historic 10th Roland Garros triumph and his epic comeback win in the 2022 Australian Open final as the two standout successes of the Mallorcan's glittering career. That I would mention two things. The former world number 2 told Eurosport's Passando Bolis, a special Nadal program. First, for me, one of the most amazing achievements was when he won his 10th Roland Garros. That is a number I could never have imagined. After that, the 14th. This is something unreal. Nearly impossible to understand. Really, the other one is when he was struggling a lot with injuries, being away from the tour, and capable of coming back from 2-0 against Medvedev. The way Daniil was playing to win the Australian Open in 2022, that was pretty much the first time in my life when I was watching a Grand Slam final with Rafa and thinking, no, there's no chance he could do it today. Not from 2-0. Alcaraz and Sinner shared the 4 Grand Slam titles this year, as they established an impressive dominance over their rivals in the best-of-5 set format. Sinner fired the starting gun as he won his first major title at the Australian Open in January before Alcaraz won his first French Open title and then defending his Wimbledon crown in sparkling fashion. World number 1 Sinner then cashed in on a shock early exit for Alcaraz at the US Open as he won his first title in New York with a new top 2 in the men's game, looking well placed to continue their dominance next year. Now world number 7 Ruud has given his verdict on the new top 2 in the men's game, as he suggested the Sinner is a step ahead of the young Spaniard, but he is deservedly the world number 1, said Ruud of Sinner. He is definitely the player to beat this year. It seems like this guy almost forgot how to lose. Ruud has enjoyed another solid season, and his presence in the ATP Finals Final Four in Turin highlights his consistency. But he admits he feels like he faces a huge battle when he takes on a player of Sinner's caliber, that it's tough to play all the best players in the world. But it's also nice because sometimes you feel like an underdog and you can play freely. He added, Tennis 365 asked celebrated coach Patrick Mouratoglou to nominate his player of the year, and he admitted that was a tough task as Sinner and Alcaraz both have claims to that title. Speaking to Tennis 365 in an exclusive interview ahead of the UTS Grand Final at London's Copperbox Arena from December 6th to 8th, Mouratoglou looked back on Alcaraz's achievement and suggested he passed the biggest test in the sport by winning both major titles. I think what he did is probably the most difficult thing to do in tennis, to win back-to-back, 2 tournaments that are opposite in terms of qualities to win them. Mouratoglou told Tennis 365 at Roland Garros, you need to be high on your legs, sliding, using a lot to spin longer rallies. Then go to Wimbledon, where you have to return big servers on the surface. That is, of course, better for counterpunchers or players who are much more aggressive with less spin. At Wimbledon, you have to be so low on the legs and not slide, and wow. Those 2 tournaments are so close in terms of timing. To make those 2 back-to-back is probably one of the most difficult things to do in tennis. Raducanu has chopped and changed coaches, fitness advisors, and a variety of members of her setup since her iconic US Open win in 2021, and from the outside looking in, it appears the stability she needs to succeed has been lacking. Raducanu has confirmed she is in talks to add a renowned fitness trainer to her team as she bids to make a successful return from her latest injury layoff. The 22-year-old has revealed a deal to hire fitness trainer Yutaka Nakamura, who previously worked with Maria Sharapova and Naomi Osaka, is not yet signed off, although talks are progressing, and said she is ready to commit to physical improvements. Raducanu has climbed more than 200 places in the rankings this year, after sitting out most of last season following operations on both wrists and one ankle, but has played fewer tournaments than almost anyone else in the top 60, and only 3 since Wimbledon. I think my goal next year is to stay on court longer, said Raducanu, who had previously cited a desire to keep her team small as a reason for not hiring a full-time fitness trainer and relying on Lawn Tennis Association staff at their Roehampton base in South London. This year I came to top 60 in the world, but I played I think less than 15 events. I know if I'm on court and healthy and competing, I can go even higher and further. That I think that my athleticism is a strength of mine, but it's nowhere near its full potential. I'm just looking forward to exploring that further and ready to commit to doing that. While it's the end of the season for a lot of players, I feel I'm just beginning to kickstart and get things in motion, training really well, training hard, and already building towards next year. I'm not really looking to have any more time off. The addition of a fitness expert would be a step forward for Raducanu, with former British number 1 Tim Henman suggesting the constant layoff are harming her development. The element she has struggled the most with is her physical resilience. Henman told Sky Sports Tennis that we talk about these long seasons and about being out there competing on tour, and she is still trying to build that resilience. The world number 1 has continued his remarkable 2024 campaign by winning all 3 of his round-robin matches in Turin without dropping a set. Sinner did not lose more than 4 games in the 6 sets he played, while he dropped serve only twice, following wins over Alex de Minaur and Taylor Fritz. Sinner's 6-3. 6-4 triumph against Daniil Medvedev in his 3rd match ensured he finished top of the John Newcombe group. The Italian, who was a runner-up at the 2023 ADP Finals, revealed he has a different feeling compared to when he reached the semifinals at last year's edition of the event. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always a different feeling. It doesn't really matter how you arrive to a tournament or not. It's nice to be again in the semis here. Sinner told the media after beating Medvedev that it's different year, different player. Like everyone else, we try. I believe all of us, we have improved a lot in 1 year. It's nice to be again in this positions where I can play again for a final spot. Then we see how it goes. That Sinner's victory against Medvedev, the world number 4, was his 10th win against a player in the top 5 of the ADP rankings this season, having also registered 10 wins against top 5 opponents in 2023. Sinner has become just the 4th player to achieve this in consecutive seasons since the ADP rankings were introduced in 1973. To the other men to earn 10 or more wins against players ranked in the top 5 in successive years are Bjorn Borg, 1979-80, Ivan Lendl, 1985-86, and Novak Djokovic, 2011-12. 0.5 of Sinner's top 5 wins this year have been against Medvedev, while he recorded 2 against Djokovic, and 1 versus each of Andrei Rublev, Alexander Zverev, and Taylor Fritz. 0.4 of Sinner's 6 defeats this season have been against top 5 players, which gives him a 10-4 record against such opponents. The 23-year-old will face world number 7 Casper Ruud in the semifinals in Turin, while he could meet either second-ranked Zverev or 5th-ranked Fritz in Sunday's final.